Retro first-person shooter games have been a part of the gaming world almost since its beginnings. Indie developers keep pushing the boundaries of creativity and putting new spins to old genres. Today, I am going to talk to you about a game that combines the retro FPS genre with some dark horror Lovecraftian aesthetics and inspiration, with a splash of comic visuals and some rock-infused music. Hi everyone, my name is Jeremy and this is my non-spoiler review for Forgive Me Father for PC on Steam. This game was developed by Byte Barrel and published by 1C Publishing EU. Forgive Me Father follows the story of one of two protagonists, the priest or the journalist. Your cousin Louis writes you a letter asking you to help him and to visit him in his hometown Pettisville. You decide to go and find that he is not in his house and that there's something extremely wrong happening in this town. It is up to you to find your cousin and kill the monsters and the evil that is behind it all. The story of Forgive Me Father is told through some cutscenes with comic book visuals and documents that you find throughout the levels of the game. The game features voice acting, the opening cutscene is narrated and sounds extremely good. However, the voice and comments of the main character sound very cheesy. The game has story and it has different layers to analyze and enjoy. However, it is very clear that the story is just a backdrop for the true focus of the game, which is the fast-paced action. In terms of visuals, the game goes for a comic book style with Lovecraftian inspired aesthetics and monsters. The game features 2D sprites that have vibrant colors, but you play on a 3D space. When you shoot at monsters, you blow up specific pieces of their body. Headshots are highlighted with the words headshot, and the game is extremely gory. Each time you kill a lot of enemies, the environment gets completely covered in blood, guts, and bones, and it is wonderful. The mix of the comic visuals, the Lovecraftian aesthetics, and the 2D sprites with the 3D environment all come together to form what is an extremely pleasing visual experience. The game features very diverse monster designs that have their own attack patterns. The animations are simple, but go extremely well with the visuals of the game. In terms of specs, Forgive Me Father is a more demanding game. However, because the game has so many tinkering options, there is some flexibility. In my case, my PC had almost the exact recommended specs and the game ran extremely well at 1080p 60 FPS at a low graphical settings, which is the most my PC could handle. If you have a stronger PC, you shouldn't have any problems running the game. And if you have a weaker PC, you probably can tinker with the settings to find a setup that works for you and that runs the game as smoothly as your computer can handle. The game has a lot of settings. I will just highlight some of them. For example, you have multiple difficulty levels. You can adjust resolution up to 1080p and a lot in between. In terms of frame rate, it can be locked up to 144 frames per second, and there are a lot of options before that. You can adjust your field of view, you can adjust your graphics, meaning textures, effects, shadows, foliage, view distance, among many other things, and you can play with a mouse and keyboard or a gamepad too. So this game has a lot of tinkering options, giving flexibility to how many people with different PCs can play this game. In terms of the music, the game features some awesome rock music that is there to pump you up for the moment-to-moment crazy action of the game. What caught my attention is that the track is dynamic. Usually when a lot of monsters appear, the music goes up and it starts rocking, and once you kill the monsters, the music changes to a more stable pace. This allows the music to truly complement the gameplay in a way where you feel like the music is following your lead.
I wish wounds didn't exist.
In terms of gameplay, Forgive Me Father is a retro-style shooter with roguelike elements, where the focus of the game is the fast-paced shooting against hordes of enemies. You will find a good variety of weapons that get added permanently to your inventory, giving options from a knife to a revolver to Tommy guns to shotguns and everything in between. They all feel and play very differently, and you will have to master them all to conquer all of the challenges the game throws at you. You have your HP, and you can pick up armor to withstand more blows from enemies. The game features two playable characters, the journalist and the priest. The journalist is more focused on an aggressive playstyle, and the priest is more focused on a defensive playstyle. You can level up and acquire skill points, and your skill points can be invested in the skill tree to acquire new passive abilities that will greatly help you in the game. Abilities can go from your typical acquire more experience when killing monsters to better versions of the weapons you have. Some tree routes mutually exclude themselves, meaning that you can only choose between certain upgrades in some branches of the skill tree. For example, you can upgrade the knife for it to become throwing knives or a machete, but you can't have them both. You also acquire free skills throughout the game, and this gives more options to either explore the environment or face enemies. And some of these consume what is known as the madness counter. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the madness mechanic. You have what the game calls a madness counter or a madness meter. The more monsters you kill and the more alcohol you consume, it goes up. When it is at its maximum, the game turns black and white, and the only thing with color is the blood. It is visually stunning, and the madness counter plays into the use of some of the skills that you acquire throughout the game. The level design of this game is outstanding. The game uses its level design to create very diverse challenges and action set pieces that make each stage feel unique, and requires the player to think carefully how to traverse the environment and how to use the environment to your advantage. The stages of Forgive Me Father are short. Some can take an average of 15 minutes to finish. The game has multiple levels and a lot of replayability. One thing I do have to mention about this game is that the game is extremely difficult. The game throws at you a good variety of challenges, hordes of enemies, and they do a lot of damage in a very short amount of time. So you will find yourself dying a lot. I played the game on normal difficulty, and 3/4 of the way through the game, I had to change the difficulty to very easy because I could not handle it. But I have to admit that this is the first retro first-person shooter game that I played. But I'm giving you a heads up, the game is extremely difficult. It is balanced because the game gives you different difficulty options that you can change at any moment. But if not, this would be like really hard. So let's talk about the cons and pros of the game. In terms of the cons, I guess the first thing that I would have to mention is the voice acting of the main character, which is extremely cheesy. And it contrasts with how polished the rest of the game is. Each time the main character comments something, honestly, it gets really annoying. Secondly, for some reason, the letters of some of the documents you find are very small and hard to read at times. But obviously, this is something that they can patch out later on. And last but not least, and this is more a personal gripe of mine, I wish they had done more with the sound design to help you be more aware of your surroundings while fighting. In Forgive Me Father, you will have many situations where there will be a lot of enemies around you, and sometimes it is visually hard to keep up with all the enemies on screen, and enemies out of your sight are especially hard to keep track of in these situations. This could be mitigated with the sound design, letting you know where the enemies are with the sounds. I feel like this is something the game is missing and it needs it. In terms of its strengths, first of all, the game's visuals are incredible. The comic style visuals, the bright colors, and the Lovecraftian design makes this game a delight to look at all times. Secondly, the gameplay. The shooting feels really good. The game is extremely responsive and allows the player to truly get immersed in the fast-paced action that the game goes for. And last but not least, the music. The dynamic rock music really gets your blood pumping and gets you invested in the fights, motivating you to kill every monster on screen and enjoying every single moment of it. In conclusion, Forgive Me Father is what I would consider a masterpiece of a game. It's cheesy voice acting for the protagonist, small letters for the documents, and the difficulty of keeping track of enemies around you are almost nitpicks in what is otherwise an exceptional and outstanding game. The game's dark horror Lovecraftian inspired aesthetics, setting, and story Superb level design, dynamic rock soundtrack, comic book visuals, and fast-paced intense gameplay all come together to form something truly special. The whole is more than the sum of its parts. It's an expression that truly encapsulates my appreciation of this game. All of the components of this game are so well interwoven together that they form what is truly a masterpiece of a game. For this reason, I highly recommend Forgive Me Father. So that's gonna be it for my non-spoiler review for Forgive Me Father. The link to the game's page on Steam will be in the description. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
The knowledge! I've opened my third eye.
Hi everyone, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with our content.